Virgo, this is Kajora Lovely with your general reading for the month of March 2019. I also did a general video for the month of March talking about what's going on for everyone this month, astrologically, moon-wise, holidays, and also pulled some cards for the general theme of the month. So I'll put the link for that in the description box below, and so you can access all those. Also, just to let you guys know, I'm a tarot card reader and a Reiki healer, and I work out of LA. That's the way I live. And I'm available for in-person and distance sessions if you're interested in either a reading or a healing with me. And we have a cat saying hello. And goodbye. So let's get into your general reading for the month of March 2019. Oh, and if you're interested in booking a session, I'll put all that contact information in the description box below. And if you're curious, I'm reading with the Radiant Rider-Waite. Okay. So, by the way, the burping usually means there's messages coming through. And there's one coming through right now. Wait for what you want. However that applies, there you go. And if that's all you need to hear, I understand. So where you are right now, this is the Queen of Cups in reverse. This can sometimes mean maybe feeling a little emotionally unbalanced, maybe having issues with practicing empathy, understanding where other people are coming from and their feelings. It can also sometimes mean not necessarily coming from the best standpoint when it comes to emotions. You could also be dealing with a water sign, but this is where you are. So if you are dealing with a water sign, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, you could be dealing with someone who's not really coming from the best place or with the best intentions, someone who's being maybe a little manipulative or using their emotions to get the better of people. I think we've all met those types. Like the one who cries to get attention, that sort of thing. It's a learned behavior. So what's influencing you right now is the Two of Swords. Now, usually this is about being in a deadlock in your mind, or sort of being at a crossroads, not really sure which road to take. So the name I'm hearing with this is Hecate, probably because she's one of the gods and goddesses around crossroads. You can always look that up. If you guys are curious and want to learn more about Hecate, let me know in the comments below and I'll post some more info on her, because I do have a book about like deities from every single pantheon in the world. Because you can always make an offering to her or petition her for help in making a decision. The other one, if you work with Orishas, or the 7 African powers, is Eshu Elegbara, also known as Papa Legba or Elegua. He has like a million names. But he also is the one that you petition when you're at a crossroads. So, all same thing. If you are curious to know more about him, I can post that in the comments below as well. And if you are in that, if you are sort of a practitioner with the Orishas already, then if you have someone that you can go to, I also encourage you to speak to them about that, because they will know far more than I do, in all honesty. So what's crowning you at this time is the Eight of Cups in reverse. So this is, I always see this as, it's leaving something behind, but to find home. And it's often, I feel like with you guys, I feel some sadness coming on. This is an emotional one, because usually the Eight of Cups upright is about leaving something behind, even if it's incomplete. It's because you're done. You've had it. You're done with it. You don't want to deal with it anymore. And you're ready to move on. Now, when it's in reverse, I don't see it as that you're not leaving something behind, but rather that you're leaving it to find home. to find a place that feels like home, that feels comfortable, that feels safe, that feels warm, that sort of thing. So let me pull another card on this, see what you're supposed to do or what you're supposed to know about this particular energy. And for some of you, it feels like it's an emotional decision. Yeah, it's to find your own happiness. So if you're feeling guilty about leaving a situation because you're unhappy, it's to find your own sense of satisfaction. Now, this with the Nine of Cups, it's very much like this is you independently being happy. I think that's very important, is that it's about what makes you feel emotionally satisfied and abundant. What gives you those 9 cups filled with joy? And so in that, it's really, the focus is, it feels for many of you, it's on whatever has made you miserable for an extended period of time. You're leaving that behind because you're looking for something that finally makes you feel settled and happy in here. And so it doesn't feel like concerns about selfishness or whatever are coming up. It really feels more like, that's the feeling. It's that sense that you can finally breathe again. So I would say, however that applies to you, is something to keep in mind, that that's your goal. Is it's not necessarily, if you're in your head, like with this decision of, am I doing the right thing? Am I just being a selfish person? And am I doing the unkind thing? It's really a matter of, if you are fucking miserable, you are going to make everyone around you miserable as well. So I'm sorry, it's just, I've never seen that to not be true. Some of the worst people in the world are damn miserable. And so it's that misery loves company thing. They want everyone to suffer right along there with them. And even people with the best intentions, if they are uncomfortable, they are unhappy, they are going to lash out. And so I think it's also remembering that if you feel like it's the unkind thing to leave a situation behind, sometimes too, if it's the source of your misery, then it's probably the kindest thing you can do to everyone involved. Because obviously it's your choice. It's, you have free will. It's up to you what you want to do. But it's something to think about when you're making this decision, that feeling is what you're aiming for. What you have at the base of this is a relationship. So this can be a romantic relationship. So for those of you who are single, yay! It can be that you're getting into a relationship this month. It can also mean, and for those of you who are in a relationship, it could be that it's just going to play a role. It can also be a partnership of any sort. It can even be one with yourself. But usually I see this as, well, they're emphasizing your relationship with yourself, because that's what I'm hearing right now. But it's also about something where there's an even energy exchange. So in this case, since they're saying it's about yourself, you know what that means, self-love. That's the name of the game. It's about putting as much energy into yourself as what you would give into someone else, really. Because the Two of Cups is about that even exchange of energy, ideas, emotions, feelings, all that stuff. Because it's, not about being out of balance. So I would say it's also keeping that balance within yourself. Now, what are we talking about when we talk about self-care? I am not talking about pedicures or facials. Or, a massage can be, because it's also detoxifying. It breaks up, tension in the body. It can help release things even energetically and move things on. Like, as a healer, sometimes massage can actually help before you do Reiki, because it gets energy flowing and moving. Now, that's a little different than just doing one where they pet you the whole time and don't really move very much around. Because I see self-care as asserting boundaries, of making things clear in your life, of saying, this is what I'll do, this is what I won't do, this is what I want, this is how things are going to work. It's knowing when to stop, when to take a break, when to hydrate, when to work on yourself, when to say no, when to rest. It's really a lot of those things, because it really isn't just about what's Instagrammable. It's about what's difficult, honestly. It's about the tricky times in life where you have to assert a boundary and say, you cross this line, dude, there's no going back. And I'm not kidding. It's really saying, this is what I need right now, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to make excuses for that. It simply is. This is what I want. This is what I need. This is how I am. This is how I feel. It's about taking care of your emotional needs as much as your physical needs, because I also see it as nourishment, you know, making sure you are getting enough fluids, make sure you're getting enough sunlight or vitamin D, making sure that you're getting enough energy moving through your body with exercise or, you know, whatever it is that makes you happy, stimulating joy, finding ways to find your own balance in life. It's about all those things. You know, for some people, it's about taking medication, which is fine. You know, if that's something that you've noticed helps keep your equilibrium, that's fine. A friend of mine regulates her mood with exercise. You know, it's knowing your body, knowing its limitations, but also knowing what it likes, what it doesn't like. And that goes same for your mood, same for your spiritual practice. It goes to pretty much everything in your body. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about self-care. It's really about knowing yourself and what you need, and knowing when you need to rest, when you need to amp things up, and figuring out how to diagnose it with what you need. You know, it's not just about things that will make you look superficially pretty. It's about what will make you feel whole and nourished and satisfied deep within, so that you can feel like you're coming from a stronger place, so you're not pouring from an empty cup. You know, it's about that self-nourishment, self-love, and to a certain extent, for some of you, self-control. And it's interesting because I'm hearing the word boundaries, and if you watch the general video that I posted, Pisces season, which we have for the first half of this month, doesn't really have boundaries. It's a very expansive energy, and it likes to grow and expand and move things, and that can be good when you're in like trying to learn something new, but it also can mean sometimes things can happen to excess. So it's something to keep in mind when it comes to this, that you may have to work a little harder to assert boundaries for yourself, but that doesn't mean that you're not worth it, because you are, boo-boo. Okay. Future position, short-term future, 8 of Wands in reverse. There's going to be a little bit of a delay on good news. So let's see what that's about. I feel like it's something new. You're going to be looking for new opportunities, but there's a delay, or you're not going to be looking for something. Why? Why? Because you're focused on some relationship. So this is interesting because, well, this can also be a Gemini, FYI. So if you're focused on a Gemini and that's distracting you from dealing with anything else, then you may want to reassess that. But really what's happening is that it could be you're focusing on something that seems really pretty, really nice, really fun, really sweet. But it may not be, because the snake is standing out. Now, I don't necessarily see snakes as evil, but they are slippery little devils, aren't they? Yeah, the fire is standing out now, so I feel like it's also that whatever the situation is, it's combustible, which means it has the potential to explode or catch fire. So it's important to, I think, be honest with yourself if this is the relationship that's kind of anchoring your life. Is it an anchor or is it a dead weight? Is it something that's kind of dragging you down? Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. Like, say you're happily married and this doesn't apply to your marriage, but it applies to a friendship or a business partnership or a family member. You know, take this however it applies. But it's that there's some dynamic that maybe you thought was a certain way and you're starting to see it's not really that. You're starting to see it for what it is and realize, like, maybe this isn't quite as good as I thought. But it's also a matter of, like, not just staying focused on that, about you might want to look for other opportunities because also where you are now, there's an opportunity for a new creative project. Now, sometimes I also see this as possibly a new relationship or a new person that could come into your life. So I would say that it's important to not necessarily stay focused on the wrong things. The things that don't serve you, the things that just seem really pretty, but maybe aren't really all that great. It's kind of like, don't be a magpie. Don't just catch all the shiny, pretty things so you can put them outside your nest and attract all the attention, especially if it's just something sort of shallow and superficial that doesn't necessarily feed your soul. I think that's the important thing here. So if it comes to a relationship or dynamic, it could also be not necessarily going with what everyone else thinks, going with what you think. Because if it looks good on paper, or it looks good as a superficially, if ever, like, it's sort of like if you're in a relationship and everyone thinks everything is hunky-dory, right? And everyone has this sort of casts aspersions on you and thinks like, oh my God, they all kind of build you up to be whatever. And you're like, yeah, is it that way? I want it to be that way. Maybe it will be. No. If it's not that way, it's not that way. Because what's influencing you now is conflict that's coming to an end. So this means there has been conflict in the past. Now, once again, this could relate to this situation with whoever this person is or not. By the way, if this, going back to the original card with the Queen of Cups in reverse, that could be the reason for all of that. If you're feeling unhappy, emotionally unbalanced, like you can't really be empathetic, you're not really using your emotions the way you want to. Maybe some of you are having trouble expressing yourselves. Maybe your throat chakra needs a little clearing. And healing and empowering. That could be why. So, 5 of Wands in reverse means that there's some kind of conflict. It can even be legal sometimes, but it means it's coming to an end. So I feel like that can come from making that decision. You know, the decision is yours. You just got to make it. Now, you can also do that thing we talked about with petitioning. But it's important to remember it's your choice. And you've got 2 twos here. A 2 of Swords and the 2 of Cups. And there's also the Lovers, but that's not really a 2. But it's important. I think it says partnerships are important right now. So I also am getting from that whatever is coming up in this dynamic is probably also something, it's a lesson you're meant to learn when it comes to partnerships in your life. And that could be, once again, romantic, business, friend, family, whatever. It's drawing your attention to partnerships. And how many make you go into this deadlock space where you don't know what decision to make? You don't know what to do. You're not really sure. And how many are actually satisfying? How many seem great at first, yay, and then not so much once you get to really know them. Because that's what this is. It's Adam and Eve get into the Garden of Eden, and after a while they start to see it for what it really is. And, you know, it's about that. It's about seeing things for what they really are. So, future position. Remember your own power. This is the Magician card. So it's, I feel like with this card I keep getting, everyone keeps getting this month. So I feel like it's really a reminder of who you are. Because in this particular one, it's sort of seeing this for yourself. It's funny because it kind of comes back to this in the sense that it's like, you remember who you are. Remember what you're capable of. Remember your own inner power, and you stand for yourself and for no one else. You stand for yourself first, anyway. Not saying it's not like you don't have children, if you do, or other people in your life, people who are dependent upon you. But it's also remembering, I think, in a way of sort of deconstructing it so you can construct it again, remembering that the person that you stand for most, who you represent first in life, that you do everything for first, is yourself. So there's some lesson in here for you guys to remember that power within, not power without. Ooh, interesting. I'm hearing something like, let something be your guide. I'm really hoping it's not let your conscience be your guide, but I feel like it is. Yeah. Jiminy Cricket to the rescue. Well, you know what? Yeah. Now I just keep seeing Jiminy Cricket. So for some of you who love that character, you may want to put him as your wallpaper on your phone, FYI. At least for this month. With that. Always let your conscience be your guide. Oh, it's also that your guides are supporting you, your spirit guides. And for those of you who aren't familiar, your spirit guides are the people who make you do this. They're the ones who are spirits you've known in previous lives, usually, who help you and guide you with whatever it is that you choose to accomplish. So no matter whether that's good or evil, they will help you because that's their goal, is to help you accomplish what you have decided, your soul decided it wanted to accomplish before it entered into this lifetime. So they're spirits that you may know, you probably don't know, honestly, because a lot of them haven't had a body in a really long time, but it depends. Everybody's spirit guides are totally different. I've even heard about someone whose spirit guide was a dinosaur, because that's when they knew each other. Because they show up in a form that you would somewhat recognize. So it could even be for some of you that your spirit guide is somebody that you knew a really long time ago. Anyway. I'm hearing spirituality is your mindset, which is interesting because this card is about money. So you can take this as it applies to you, but I often see the Four of Pentacles as holding on to money either out of need or greed. Because it's really that either you have the necessity, you need to create a base, you just need to survive, or you have plenty of money and you're just holding it onto it because you're still in that mindset of scarcity and lack. Like, there isn't enough, there's never enough, there's never enough. And as I said in a reading previously, $4 billion is never enough for somebody who has that kind of energy. And so I think it's also knowing, when is it enough, right? When can you move out of that mindset of scarcity and lack? So sometimes it's being practical too, because it's also, if you're always, okay, this is probably why this is coming up. If you're always seeing the benchmark, that the goalposts are always moving, right, for what you're working toward, you'll never feel like you ever accomplish anything. So say you get a job and you start at $20,000 a year. I don't know. Just an example. Then you get a promotion, you get $35,000 a year. And then you're like, okay, well, now I want to make this. And then I want to make this. And then I want to make this. So that even if you get up to making, let's say, $100,000 a year, if you're still thinking of it as like, well, now I'm shooting for 125 and then 150 and then 175 and then 200,000, and that's not even enough because other people make more money than I do. And I'm more talented than they are anyway. Then you're going to feel like you never really accomplish anything, and you're always living in that gap of, and this can obviously apply to anything in life, but it's never like sort of, you need to stop and say, okay, remember when I had less? I am grateful for what I have now. I'm grateful for the lessons I have learned. And it's in a way acknowledging that, not that you shouldn't strive for it, but it's not living in that perpetual scarcity mindset. Because if you do, you will always feel like there's never enough. And especially if you're in a competitive mindset, you can feel like you're always competing with everyone for scarce resources. And, it's interesting how there's so many correlations to money and love because they're both energy, really. Money does not have an agenda. It's an inanimate object. And it's the way that it's handled, the way that it's used, that people have problems with. And it's often greed that people have a problem with, not necessarily the money itself. It's how the money is dealt with, how it's used, how it's weaponized. That's the problem. And so it's also changing your association with love and money, if this applies to you again, and it could also be there are other people that you know that this applies to as well. But this whole, like, why can't I ever have love? Why can't I ever have money? That's only living in the gap. So, that being said, then you've got the Emperor here. Now, this can be an Aries, who's an influence in your life, because you've got the Emperor and then Temperance in reverse, so that could be an Aries and a Sagittarius. So it's interesting, 2 fire signs that you could be dealing with potentially. Maybe not. Otherwise, the Emperor is either a person you're dealing with or an aspect of yourself, and that's about being in charge, feel like you're in a strong position. It can also be about fighting for where you are, because there are only 2 cards in tarot that where the men have leg armor, which means that they've been in battle You know, the idea is like, these are people who have been in war. They've seen some shit and some conflict, and they are willing to fight for their position because they've had to in the past. So again, this kind of comes back to what I was just saying, is like, how much do you really want to fight for? Because I feel like the question with the Emperor too is, yes, it can be about feeling strong. The question that it always poses is, sorry, they're talking now. Because the question is about what are you willing to do? What risks or challenges are you willing to take to get to the top? But it's also, what they said is, how many hearts do you want to break to get there? I often see this as, how much of the earth do you want to scorch just so you can sit on the ashes on the throne and say that you're the king? You know, that this is really about when are the losses worth it? When is the cost worth a success? Because if you burn down a whole kingdom and kill everybody and make yourself king, yeah, technically you are, but was it worth it? Do you even have anything to your name at that point? You know, it's obviously, that's a harsh analogy, but it's something to consider, because it's really like, how many people do you want to hurt in order to get what you want? So once again, it could be someone that you're dealing with who has that mentality in life, especially if they have this, I've had to work hard for every single thing I've ever done in my life, and rah, rah, rah. And it could also be if you feel like you have some aspects of that. And that's not to diminish the hard work that people have put in, because, you know, a lot of the things take hard work. However, it's also that making sure you're not moving in that mindset of scarcity and lack. And also the assumption that everything takes hard work. Because it doesn't. Not everything has to be hard. Sometimes, if it's meant to be, the universe will let it flow if you let it. Yeah. So with Temperance in reverse, this could also mean maybe some of you are having some trouble letting your emotions flow. You're having trouble accessing the water within yourself, which is your feelings. And feeling like you're coming from a heartfelt place sometimes. Maybe you feel like, well, a little hard on yourself. Might feel a little bit bad for where you've been in the past. There's a lot coming through with this card. That's interesting, because there's this crown in the distance right here. And what I'm getting is, you may see the crown as unattainable. Part of it too is if you feel like you haven't practiced gratitude, like you can't stop and you don't even notice the flowers, let alone smell them. With this card, I'm getting a lot of like stopping to enjoy life's simple pleasures. That's a big theme with this one, because it's also, I feel like it's just about simplicity and joy, simple joy. I feel like with this one, it's like, go easy on yourselves. I mean, I have a lot of Virgo in my chart. I know Virgos. I know you guys can be very analytical. I would say part of it too is stop turning all that analysis on yourself. Cut yourself some slack this month. From all the readings I've done so far, it's going to be a fucking brutal month. Mercury's in retrograde most of the time. We're going through a big shift, ending one astrological season, starting another one. We've got the vernal equinox coming up on the 21st. You've got a lot of balance coming in, this balance between light and dark, and the shadow self, and the self that you want to expose, the self that you want to promote to everyone else, the self you want everyone to see. I feel like you may need to take some time to enjoy those simple pleasures in life. I'm hearing like, let it be. It's almost like slow down, take a break, relax, breathe. Just be for a little while. It'll be okay. You'll be okay. And, you know, I feel like it's not even that you have to stop the analysis altogether of anyone, including yourself. It's more giving yourself a break, giving yourself a rest. That it's almost, if you start to get into, like, it's almost that instead of being like, it's more, I know it's a very simplistic way to put it, but I hope that you understand what I mean. It's about not always feel like you have to go, go, go. It's more about I don't know, just chilling the fuck out. Sorry. It's not that I'm getting mad at you guys. It's a natural human thing to want to feel like you want to have a purpose with something, especially if you're an American. With that Protestant work ethic never really goes away. There's that whole thing of feel like you always have to do something that's useful and has a meaning and means something and does something and has a purpose. And so, because even analysis, it has a purpose. You're trying to help people better themselves. You want people to be the best version of themselves. You want you to be the best version of themselves. And everyone has to work at it. And it's also like, okay, you can also just surrender for a little bit and take a break. Allow yourself that time and that space to breathe, I'm hearing ease and be. So I feel like that's really around the vernal equinox, which is March 21st for a lot of you, that's a really good time if you can to maybe take even at just a 3-day weekend, you know, and really just relax, going back to self-care, you know. It's really about, taking care of yourself in every way possible. Because you might be feeling some setbacks and stuff. You might be dealing with some personalities, but with all this going on, you guys have to take care of yourselves. Okay, it's quite a reading. So, well, good luck over this month, Virgo. I believe in you, sending you lots of love. I hope you have a wonderful month of March. Take care, and I'll see you again next month.